Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Sergey and I'm the owner of Sergey Green Studio. We do wedding photography and videography here in Los Angeles. And today's video is quite different from the previous one, not only because I'm sitting in my living room instead of being in the studio, but also because I want to cover the topic for, I would say, the different audience, for the photographers who just starting out there. Because recently I've got quite a lot of inquiries and getting lots of questions from people how to start your wedding photography. And I'm guessing I'm in a position right now where I've been doing wedding photography for about 15 years or so in different places of the world. And now I got enough experience in order to share it with someone who's just starting. And I'm mentoring two people at the moment. I used to mentor one another person, but she's on her own, very successful photographer right now in Los Angeles. And I hope in one day she's going to be as huge as really as possible. These days I'm mentoring two photographers and we just starting, and their first question, of course, is how to become a wedding photographer, like where to start. Because some of the photographers who already started and who's already been doing wedding photography for a while, they do not have this exact question. They have more of very specific questions. But someone who just started, they really have only single question, like how to start, where to start. And we are all in a different position. Some of us can afford to buy a camera and all the lenses and everything right away. Some cannot really afford it and have to start with something. I would uh, I would share my vision of how I think it should be at the very beginning, like how ideally I would do this if I would start it all over again. And I did not start it that way. I started completely differently, and I think I made all of the possible mistakes, all of the mistakes that out there. I think I've done them. So how would I do that these days? Well, first of all, I would clearly answer the question whether it's your thing without really investing anything. How you can do that? You can ask around who's already shooting the weddings and ask them if they can have you as a third photographer, but you need to shoot with something, right? So again, you can ask around whether you can get the backup cameras from the other photographers or some sort of lenses, like a very basic kit. You don't have to get like an expensive full frame camera. You don't have to get like a bunch of lenses or anything like that. You go in there as the third photographer. You're going to be doing the details, behind the scenes kind of things. You just want to put your foot in the door. You just want to absorb what it is, the wedding. Because it might happen that after shooting your first wedding, your back will be hurting after like 10 hours of standing. You not going to be feeling right about everything what's going on in the wedding, like about the stressful situation and things like that. And it does happen with some people, and that's absolutely okay. Like in their mind, the wedding is all about like fun and everything like that, but they not realizing that behind the scene there's lots of things going on, and you have to handle the stress. You have to handle the wedding being late, and 99% of the time it's late, and so forth and so on. So first of all, you want to go out there and you want to see for yourself what it actually is. And if that's not scares you, that's actually great. The first stage is passed. When you're there, you want not only photograph everything, and I want to clarify over here. You go in there not to have tons of fun. That's a very important thing. Like your focus should be on getting as much photos as possible, but also to absorb the working process of the first and the second photographer. What are they doing? What lenses are they using in what situation? What they doing with the details and dresses? How they interact with the couple? How they interact with the guests? How they handle stressful situation if there is one? how do they handle different types of lighting, what are they doing with the morning light, what are they doing with the noon light, and most importantly with the sunset light, how do they use in flash, and in things like that. Of course, you're not going to get it from your really first photo shoot, right? It's going to take a couple of, not couple, like a lot of weddings. It's going to take lots of weddings. You're still going to be learning things out there. But what you want to do, you want to set your mind in a way that you are in a privileged situation. You get in this master class from the good photographer who's actually making his living out of it. You're not paying for it anything. You're just there intensively learning what's going on. How many times you want to do that? Really, as much as possible. It's all into the hours. It's all about an hours of education, of actual shooting and learning, things like that. And the best education, of course, is just going out there in the field and learning. Also, what you want to do, you want to look at your photos with some sort of critique. You want to look at your photos and you look at the photos that was done on that specific day, and you want to try to compare. You want to ask yourself a questions like, oh, he got that shot and I got this one. Why his photo is better, and probably it will be better. Why his photos is better or her photos is better, and what I need to do in order to get the same one. And you want to get the exact question, like where should you stand, where the light should be, and usually we're working with a natural light. What lenses should you use, what you should say to the couple or you shouldn't, and so forth. I think you got overall idea why you should be there at the wedding. And again, you should be there like 4 to 8 times a month. Then more, then better. Just go out there and shoot. If you're tired, I don't know, figure it out. Figure out what are you actually eating. If you feel like you're tired, go ahead and exercise. Like, figure something out, go through this. Because if you feel like it's too much at the very beginning, probably it's going to be even harder later on, because there's the weddings, like my favorite Armenian Indian weddings that goes for 14 hours, 16 hours. There is multiple day Indian weddings that go for like 3-4 days. So 10 hours is nothing, and you should feel great. And if you don't feel great in your 20s and 30s, you should do something about it. So there is no really other way around. Another thing what you want to do, I would highly recommend it. I mean, maybe for some of you it would be too harsh of the situation, but I would definitely do that. After you shot with someone else's camera for few times, you want to get your own camera. Do not go and spend tons of money out there. Get yourself a budget, let's say of $2,000 or so. Get the nice camera, get a couple of lenses, and 35 and let's say 50%, and I'll cover it in a different video. Put it on your credit card, let's say, and set yourself a goal, set yourself a challenge to pay it off from your wedding photography or just photography gigs in general. You might shooting events or headshots or anything else out there, but make sure you're making money. And very important thing, do not shoot for free. It's the free gigs leads you to another free gigs and so forth and so on. It's not a way to go. If your friend's asking you and it's like a gorgeous looking friend in front of the camera, and by the way, that's another thing, like it's not necessarily the person is beautiful, it's the way they acting in front of the camera, the ways they posing. It's, in my experience, it's much more important than the facial beauty of the person, but it's that my perspective. Maybe for them you can make an exception, but the rest of the time, if someone asking you to shoot the family or shoot some sort of gig or anything like that, even if it's $100, you should be paid for that job. For the position of third photographer, of course, nobody would pay you because they're not going to use these photos. But for the rest of the thing, that you should be paid, and this money should be going towards your equipment, because it's just going to make you feel great, and you're also going to be getting this reward. So in your mind, you're going to have the clear correlation between your work effort and the things that you actually gaining. Okay, that's for equipment, and that's for the shooting and everything else. And by the way, we're not talking about the business part. We're not talking about the customer service or anything like that. And by the way, the wedding photography, it's like 20, maybe less about the actual photography itself. It's 80% about the business, about the customer service, about editing and other things that I'm going to be talking later in a different video. Otherwise, this video is going to be like an hour long or so. This video about how you should start. So let's say on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, you're shooting weddings for someone else or with someone else. What should you do for the rest of the time? For the rest of the time, you should be searching for smaller gigs to shoot it yourself. And the other thing, you should set up yourself an educational plan. And when I started 15 years ago, and I mean, for me, it was absolutely a great time, and I thought we have lots of places to educate ourselves. But these days, you can find so much stuff on Skillshare, on YouTube, on lynda.com, on tons of other websites. It's really insane how much you can find. So what do you want to do? You want to set up yourself an educational program with a certain budget. You're not going to spend much. Maybe you're going to spend like $100. And on YouTube, you're going to spend nothing. You just would need to look more, and you're going to spend more time searching, and also you're going to be tired in a while from the intros in the videos, like, hey, I'm this, and that, and paid advertising inside of the video might be tiring a little, but you can actually get the free information. So what you want to do, you want to eliminate all of the fun videos that you're watching on YouTube, and you want to put yourself out there and educate yourself through that. What is the exact topics that you want to be educated on? I wrote it down for not to forget. First of all, you want to learn the composition. That's the hardest thing. You can learn it from the multiple source. Composition in photography, in painting, in sculpture, and everything else, it's all about the same. It's all about the same rules. So you can get it from books. Again, you can get it from the videos. You can go out there in a museum and look at this painting and try to figure out why this guy placed the objects where they are and why it's actually look great. And multiple people prove that it's look great. So you want to set your brain towards that way, towards learning composition. When you're going to start researching, I'm sure you'll see lots of material out there. Second thing, you want to learn color theory. I hope I'm calling it right, but basically it's all about color and the light theory. You want to understand how the different colors works, and also you want to understand how the lighting is working. And it's a kind of a thing that's very hard to get when you're reading it, so it's naturally going to create a mess, same actually as the composition stuff. But when you go out there and when you would shoot, you would figure out eventually. It's all going to start making sense when you're shooting. Same as with pretty much anything else. You can learn tons of stuff about how to drive the car or anything like that, but it's nothing going to happen until you go there and actually drive it, right? Same is in the photography. You have to invest this hours and hours into yourself, and that's why I'm saying that you should have a plan, and that will create a mess, but later on it would really make sense. Third thing, the camera. You should know everything about the camera. I remember When I started and I bought my parents bought me the Canon 5D, not Mark II, nothing, just 5D. That was the best camera back then. They had a very good instruction, actually, just a very good manual with absolutely everything out there. It's like 150 to 100 pages or so, like a very small book, but I read it from the top to the bottom. And also, I mean, there was no that amount of, was not enough educational videos back then, and also in the place where I used to live, you cannot really get the books or any educational material. So you really learn with everything what you have. So you might do the same thing. Just learn in whatever way you want everything about the camera. You should know what every button does. You want to know how the different functions collaborate with each other, how to handle different lighting situation, how to change the settings and so forth and so on. And again, it's all comes from the hours and hours of actual shooting. And the fourth thing that you want to start learning, it's the editing. There is probably the best courses out there, I think, on lynda.com, and at least what it's used to be. There's tons of courses on Lightroom on YouTube. I'm pretty sure there's a good educational tutorials on Adobe website itself. For me, it's kind of interesting. I have now full-time editor who is working in my studio, so I can afford myself a luxury of not editing the photos and videos by myself. But for you, it's going to take a while before you're going to get to this kind of volume of clients, so you can afford the other person do some sort of job for you. And you cannot really skip that part too. Even though you delegate this part of your business to someone, you want to make sure how it is done actually. So you want to be a professional yourself. So if I'm open the Lightroom right now, I still will be able to edit this photos beautifully. But I'm probably not going to be able to deliver that volume of weddings on time if I'm going to be doing this by myself. So let's say you said everything. So you're doing like 4 to 8 weddings a month, right, as a third shooter. And that's by itself, it's a hard thing to get because not every studio would get the person basically from outside. Because they do care about business processes. But let's say you get it. Then you shooting on your own the smaller gigs, so you start making the money a little bit here and there. Also, very, very importantly, do not underestimate this part. You do the education properly. So you very disciplined and you really educate yourself and everything like that. So the question is, how long you should be doing this third shooter thing? Well, the answer is as long as it's going to get you to feel comfortable to be a second photographer. You will get this realization eventually, and you'll be just standing out there looking at the second photographer, and you're like, okay, I feel I can do that. I can handle the getting ready process of the groom. I can handle the details. I can be there on the ceremony, doing everything that the first photographer needs from me. I can do absolutely everything. So now you're moving from the third photographer position to the second photographer position, and probably you're going to be working for the same person you were doing the third shooting, right? Because it makes sense. They learn you learn them. They know that you're showing up on time, that you're doing a great job, that you're dedicated to the craft. They're probably going to hire you as the second photographer. So now you're getting paid for shooting, for second shooting. And again, from there, you can get 4, 6, 8 weddings a month as the second shooter. And depending on where you are, it could be 30, it could be 40, it could be $50 per hour job. So that's great. That sounds better than free, right? So, and after that, you would naturally grew to the position of the first photographer. And actually from there, it's going to get a little bit quicker as well. And but it's a topic for the completely different video. Do not over stress yourself with the thoughts of the learn term planning. Right now, you just need to look at the horizon as far really as you can look, and just go there. Just make a walk. Do not just sit out there and think what's going to happen and trying to figure out all of the different scenarios and everything like that. Just go ahead and do this. Just do things step by step. And in the second part, I would talk about probably the most important part. I would talk about the business strategies, the customer service, and it's all about the customer service. And I've been lucky, like somehow I made it through that things. And what do I mean by that? Like from 16 or 17 years old or so, I've been working in custom service related businesses. I've been selling things, and really the customer service is about the same through through the different industries. I personally been working in the store, and we were selling like fridges, ovens, and things like that. But it's still the same. You're meeting the person, you're trying to understand what the person needs. You want to make sure they are happy and they're getting what they want. So you have to love your customers, and you want to make sure that you're making them happy. If you want to be a photographer, but you're not into people and you're not into the talking with people, there's plenty of different beautiful options. There is a landscape photography, a very underestimated market. There is a pet photography. There's tons of other things really out there. But if you in the wedding business, you have to love your customers, and you want to make sure that you are good in a customer service. But that's a different topic for the different video. Let's leave it there. I think with this video, I'm gonna start the whole different course for the photographer who just starting out there, because I feel like there's a demand for it and people asking me about it. And instead of like talking with each and every person separately, I was just gonna be making these videos and would educate, not also educate, but also would be sharing my experience. Thank you again so much, guys, for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. For me, it will be very helpful. If you have like a very specific questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.